Who is Harriet Tubman? And why is she so important that she's going to be the first Black individual and the first woman in over a century to be placed on U.S. currency? Well, the story starts in about 1820 to 1825. The exact date of her birth is unknown. Harriet Tubman was born Amaretto Ross on a plantation in Maryland. When Harriet was about 12 years old, she attempted to help a slave and who was being brutally beaten, and her reward for that was a cracked skull, the condition of which led her to having headaches and narcolepsy for the remainder of her life. Now, in roughly 1849, she learned that she was going to be sold, so her and her brothers devised a plan to escape using the Underground Railroad. She invited her husband, John Tubman at the time, and he declined as he was already a free man. And so her and her brothers made the attempt to escape to Pennsylvania. However, her brothers got scared and turned around. So Harriet arrived in Pennsylvania, a free woman, but alone. She then made the brave choice to go back and save her family and friends. Over the course of her time, she saved 300 slaves, and she did this at night, on foot, with slave hunters and their dogs on her trail. This began the legend. She's famously quoted as saying she never ran her train off the tracks or lost a passenger. Now, during the Civil War, she applied her stealth skills to disguise herself as an old lady and infiltrate behind Confederate lines, where she would spy and get information from the slaves that were there and bring that back to Union soldiers. And in 1863, she became the head of a spy unit for the Union Army. Now, after the war ended, she remarried, and she continued to raise money for the women's suffrage movement, as well as starting a home for elderly and infirm people. In 1890s, she was finally awarded a pension of $20 for her military service, and this was after 30 years of applying and being denied. $20. Which is the justification for Harriet Tubman being placed on the 20, which was something that was announced by the U.S. Treasury Department in 2016 and set to become a fact in 2030. Harriet will remove President Andrew Jackson, making her the first Black individual to be on paper currency and the first woman to be there in over a century. She died in 1913 of pneumonia and is buried in Fort Hill Cemetery in Auburn, New York, with semi-military honors.